In a world full of faces, few dare to see what's hidden inside. Welcome to Black Inside USA, where every story has a shadow and a lesson. She was just a hotel maid, silent, humble, invisible. But when a millionaire stopped to see the person behind the uniform, one moment changed both their lives forever. The crystal chandeliers shimmered above the marble floors like constellations caught in glass. The Royal Crest Hotel was alive that evening, laughter echoing, music flowing, champagne bubbling, and luxury gleaming in every corner. It was the night of the Charity Gala for Hope, an event where the richest of the city gathered to display generosity that glittered almost as brightly as their jewels. Among the crowd stood Daniel Grant, a man of grace, wealth, and charm, a self-made millionaire. His black tuxedo fit perfectly, his smile effortless, his presence commanding. He had built his empire from the ground up, and tonight, the entire room seemed to orbit around him. But across the marble floor, away from the laughter in gold, a figure moved silently, unnoticed. A young woman in a crisp blue maid's uniform, her hair tied neatly, her face pale with quiet humility. Her name was Elena Brooks. She wasn't part of the evening sparkle. She was the shadow that helped it shine, carrying trays, pouring glasses, clearing dishes, never seen, never heard. Yet as she passed the grand mirror in the ballroom, she caught a glimpse of herself, and for a moment she wished she could belong to that world, even if only for one night. Daniel was surrounded by businessmen, reporters, and admirers. But in the midst of laughter, his eyes caught something, or rather, someone. At the far end of the hall, he saw her, the maid with the downcast eyes in quiet grace. She moved differently from the others, calm, steady, almost poetic. He noticed the way she handled every glass carefully, how she smiled softly at the elderly guests, and how she looked away when the laughter grew too loud. It wasn't attraction at first. It was curiosity. He whispered to his assistant, "Who's that girl?" The assistant glanced over. "A maid, sir. Works part-time, hardly speaks. I think her name's Elena." Daniel's brow furrowed slightly. There's something about her. The orchestra swelled, and the room began to dance. Couples twirled under chandeliers, gowns shimmered, and laughter rose again. But Daniel's gaze kept drifting back, to the maid who seemed to carry silence like a song. Elena carried a tray of drinks toward the center of the ballroom. Her hands trembled slightly. The crowd was thicker now. As she passed near Daniel's group, one of the laughing guests stumbled backward, knocking into her. The tray tilted, champagne spilled. A gasp spread through the crowd like a wave. The man turned sharply, annoyed. "Watch where you're going." Elena froze, eyes wide, voice trembling. I'm sorry, sir." The crowd's laughter faded. For a moment, all eyes were on her. Her pale blue uniform stood out among the tuxedos and gowns. Daniel stepped forward immediately. "It was an accident," he said firmly, his voice calm but commanding. The angry guest muttered something and backed away. Daniel knelt slightly, helping her gather the fallen glasses. "Are you all right?" Elena nodded quickly, avoiding his gaze. "Yes, sir, thank you." Their hands brushed, a spark of something unspoken. And for a fleeting second, he saw the storm behind her calm eyes, pain, pride, and something that words couldn't name. Later that night, as the guests danced and the night aged, Daniel stepped out onto the balcony. The city lights shimmered below, and for the first time that evening, he felt alone. Then he heard footsteps, soft, hesitant. Elena was there, clearing glasses left on the marble railing. He smiled gently. "Long night." She paused, startled, then nodded. "Always as, sir. Call me Daniel." I can't. Hotel rules." He chuckled softly. "Then maybe, just tonight, we can forget the rules." She hesitated, then smiled faintly. "All right, Daniel." The city breeze brushed between them. For a while, silence filled the space, the kind of silence that feels like understanding. "You don't talk much," he said. "There's not much to say," she replied. "People don't listen when you're wearing a uniform." He looked at her with quiet admiration. Maybe they should. For the first time, she met his eyes. And in that moment, something shifted, two worlds brushing, fragile yet real. Over the next few weeks, Daniel found reasons to visit the Royal Crest more often. Each time, he would exchange a few words with Elena, nothing dramatic, nothing obvious. But every word built something invisible between them. He learned that she worked 3 jobs, that she took care of her little brother after her parents passed, that she dreamed of studying languages. She loved Dutch, of all things, because, as she once told him, every new word feels like a key to a locked world. One day, she found a small envelope under her tray. Inside was a note, greater than, to the girl who sees the world differently, keep unlocking it. She smiled for the first time in a long while. One evening, the hotel phone rang. Elena answered it, her voice soft, professional. It was Daniel. He had called the hotel line just to hear her speak. "Good evening, this is Elena speaking." Her tone was formal, but he could hear the warmth beneath it. "Elena," he said, smiling through the phone, "I think your voice just made my day better." She laughed lightly, something she hadn't done in months. "You shouldn't call me at work, Daniel. Then meet me after." There was hesitation, then silence. "All right," she whispered. They met at a small coffee shop across the street. Elena wore a simple blue dress, not her uniform, and for the first time, Daniel saw her as she truly was, not a maid, but a woman full of quiet strength. They talked for hours, about life, dreams, loss, and laughter. He didn't treat her like someone beneath him, and she didn't treat him like someone above her. It was simply 2 souls meeting halfway. But the world isn't kind to such stories. Soon, whispers spread through the hotel, the millionaire and the maid. Some mocked, some envied. Elena's supervisor warned her, "You could lose your job if this continues." She tried to distance herself, to protect what little she had. But Daniel wasn't a man who bowed to public opinion. At the next gala, he did something no one expected. The ballroom was alive again, music, laughter, and gold. Elena worked quietly, trying not to meet his eyes. Then, as the orchestra began a new tune, Daniel stepped forward. He crossed the room, every gaze turning toward him, and stopped in front of her. "Miss Elena," he said, his voice steady, "may I have this dance?" The room fell silent, her heart pounded. "Daniel, I can't, I'm working." "Not tonight," he said softly. "Tonight, you're not a maid. You're my guest." He took her hand, the music rose, and before anyone could speak, they began to dance, slow, graceful, real. Whispers filled the room, but Daniel didn't care. His eyes stayed on hers. And for the first time, Elena didn't look down. She smiled, radiant, fearless, free. The next morning, Elena expected to be fired. Instead, she received a letter from the hotel management. Daniel had made a donation, enough to fund a scholarship program for hotel staff education. The first name on the list was hers. She wept quietly, holding the letter against her chest. Weeks later, she began her classes. Daniel supported her silently, never boasting, never demanding anything in return. He once told her, "Kindness isn't charity. It's respect." A year passed. The Royal Crest hosted another gala, brighter, grander, more elegant than ever. This time, Elena wasn't serving drinks. She was one of the guests, wearing a beautiful white dress, her diploma tucked safely in her bag. As she entered the ballroom, Daniel turned and smiled. "You made it," he said. She nodded, eyes shimmering. "We made it." The orchestra began again, the same song as that first dance. He extended his hand, "Shall we?" And once again, they danced, but this time, not as a maid and a millionaire. As equals, as friends who taught each other what true worth really means. Years later, the Royal Crest Hotel had a new manager, Elena Brooks Grant. Yes, the same girl who once served drinks now ran the entire place. On the wall near the ballroom, a plaque read, "Greater than, for those who serve silently, may you always be seen." Every year, she hosted the same charity gala, ensuring part of the funds went to educate hotel workers. And at the end of every evening, she'd look at the chandeliers and smile, remembering the night everything changed. Sometimes, life doesn't give us equal beginnings. But it gives us moments, small, fragile, powerful moments that can rewrite everything. Elena and Daniel's story wasn't about wealth or status. It was about respect, kindness, and the courage to see beyond uniforms and walls. Because in the end, love doesn't just change hearts, it changes worlds. Would you like me to create a YouTube version of this with voiceover script, intro hook, and outro narration for your Black Inside USA channel? That way, it's perfectly ready for video narration. Thanks for watching Black Inside USA, where every ending starts a new story. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because the next story might just change your mind.